Hey everyone, this is Cameron Ward, the co host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the amazing, vibrant world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And, of course, everyone's favorite Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Hello, friends and loved ones.
And yeah, this episode is going to be a fun one. We've got reviews for Chainsaw Man movie, Reze Arc, plus Lesbian Space Princess and ChaO. But before we get there, something happened the day after we recorded our last episode where the announcements of which movies won awards at Animation is Film. So, Cameron, you want to break some of those down?
The Grand Jury Prize for Animation is Film, which is like the cream of the crop prize, went to Little Amelie, or the character of Rain. You know, the story about a young Belgian girl growing up in Japan from ages 1 to 3. I'm not shocked about this because it won one of I think the audience award at Annecy, so I knew it was going to be one of the main winners. And like, we'll talk about it very soon because we're going to get a screener for it, and after our next episode, we'll talk about Little Amelie for its own episode. The audience award, which obviously was voted on by the audience goers, I'm a little amazed by it because I assumed that the Chainsaw Man movie was not in full competition. So, because that one was crowded, and also, like, the ChaO and All You Need Is Kill were completely sold out. And so was Little Amelie, too. But Arco, the winner of the Grand Cristal Prize at Annecy, and was, the big con and other fest winner. But I'm amazed that Arco won the audience award. I don't know. I guess people really adored it more than the others. When I thought, I don't know, man. I guess I have a bad read on audience mindsets because I was thinking, oh, they're not going to like this at all. Well, not at all, but it had an uphill battle, but it does have a beautiful story that everyone can gravitate to. So we'll talk about that movie later on in November. Now, the special jury prize went to like the film that wowed the jury members. And I'm a little surprised by it. Alberto Vasquez's Decorado. Because his films tend to be very polarizing. You either love them for their darkly depressing nature, or you are repulsed by them. Like, you find them just kind of abhorrent because of how dark and cynical they are. Like, if you've seen Unicorn Wars, boy howdy, is that like one of the most depressing endings.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't normally do the shorts. I don't tend to follow shorts at festivals because they don't make it easy to check them out, especially when they are playing while other films are playing. It's hard to grab them online because I don't know who to contact for which shorts and such. But the Grand Jury Prize for the shorts went to Gigi, which I saw a little bit of, and it looked pretty cool. But the special jury prize went to Iru, the new Cartoon Saloon produced animated short that will be premiering in front of Amelie later. Literally, by the time Little Amelie comes out, Iru will be playing in front of it. So we will try to grab a screener for that one as well. So part of me is not shocked, but part of me is a little surprised about, at the very least, the special jury and the audience award prize.
This adds to my theory that when it comes to the major awards, if it's not K-pop Demon Hunters, I think Arco is pretty high up there in second place.
Yeah.
I think second place is going to be either Little Amelie or Arco, because I think it's a toss-up between which ones the voters like the most. And then obviously the Golden Globes are going to nominate Smurfs, because that's just the fucking thing that they do.
Don't manifest that. No, look, there's other better mediocre movies that deserve that place more. Like, that's a bad movie. Like, at least have, like, a mediocre movie that, maybe just was a little bit undercooked. Leave that there.
No, I'm going to manifest it. This year has been chaotic enough. Well, I'm making it more chaotic. Oh, God. It's like that Patton Oswalt joke of when he's talking about his horrible time living in New York, where he describes it as, like, I want someone to be sad, and I want them to know that I'm responsible. No, I mean, the Globes are going to globe, and we're not going to watch them anyway, because they suck. So, anyway, let's talk about our 3 movies, because literally, right when Animation as Film was ending, I got an email in my inbox of, hey, we would like you to watch Lesbian Space Princess. And it's like, cool, I get to watch now 7 of the 10 competing films. Because that wasn't really the case, because I had to miss Lesbian Space Princess because it was playing a little bit while Scarlet was starting up. So it's like, I was happy to not miss out on it. I'll say this, some of my Animation is Film lore. When they place a second movie during the first movie, it tends to be the less popular entry in the Animation as Film. It's not a bad movie, but it tends to be like the one that people will like or see the least. Even though I think the Chinese film Nobody was the one that nobody went to see, sadly, even though it was an amazing movie, but I digress. When I got the screener for Lesbian Space Princess, after not seeing any trailers, or at least not watching a trailer in a while for it, I was curious. Were we jumping into an indie animated feature that was going to feel more like what people think indie is, or were we going to be here for a good time?
Well, before we started, I was like, I really hope, because, like, the whole vibes, I was feeling like, this has, like, intense YOLO Crystal Fantasy vibes, and I said, Cameron, I hope to God that this is what this movie is, because if this movie is that, I will be very happy.
Exactly, because Australia has been really kicking it recently with their animation, like, whether it's like shows that they're producing, CGI animation that they're working on. Mike and I had talked about A Sloth Story, like, way back in April or May, and it was a really charming little movie. So it was going to be up in the air to see how this one would go, because sometimes, and I don't mean to put down a certain type of indie animated feature, sometimes there's a reason why you never hear about some of those movies again after their festival run, because they're like, I don't know, it's lovely, but who is going to want to see this? Like, from a casual movie going audience. And a sign of things to come, we were in our group chat talking about how much fun we were having with Lesbian Space Princess, because it is.
It's one of the fucking funniest movies of the year. I'm just gonna straight up say it.
I am right there with you. This is pretty much right up there with, like, the Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, The Naked Gun, right up there with that.
I would say it's the best comedy movie from the festival on top of Chow. Because to me, it's like those two were, well, and Nobody were like the pinnacles of comedic animation. And they were also different, which is what's really nice, because, so, Lesbian Space Princess, let's talk a quick, I mean, we're going to talk about like all 3 films kind of intermittent and bouncing off of one another. But I just want to talk about Lesbian Space Princess first. Exploding with energy, music, and wit, Lesbian Space Princess is an intergalactic space romp for the ages from Australian writer/director duo Leela Vargas and Emma Hugh Hobbs. After her bounty hunter ex-girlfriend is kidnapped by the incel straight white Malians, The introverted space princess Sarah, played by Shabana Aziz of The Pit,
Yeah, I was going to say she's from The Pit, and she's great.
is forced on a transformative journey through the far reaches of queer outer space to get her back. Along the way, she discovers new friends, new powers, and new confidence as heir to the throne of lesbian planet Clitopolis.
Let's first of all, we should clarify that most of the low-hanging fruit jokes, like, they get out of the way in like the first 5 minutes. Like, this movie is very like self-aware, and like anyone who like gets pissed off of it or thinks they're serious tends to be a certain type of person, and they're not good people.
Yep.
The one thing I really adored about Lesbian Space Princess is it was indie animation, but it was not paced like a sluggish indie
No,
film.
it was so well paced. Like, that's what I can't get over. Like, it uses every 86 minutes of it. And also, like, the story was really good.
Yeah. A really tight story with also great music.
Oh yeah, very cool indie music, and they somehow weave the music into like the meanwhile segments of where the space lesbian bounty hunter is kidnapped by these straight white malians. I'm just going to describe them as that every time because that's how they do it. And
they're legit just the moon guys for Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh god, they really are. Like, this thing has the vibe of an Adult Swim show, but it doesn't have the sluggish, improvish pacing of some of those shows, where it just sometimes it seems like they're just trying to get something done. They're trying to get to the finish line before, so they can say like, okay, we got our 15-minute episode right here. Here, it was just like a fun space adventure with no real slow points in the story. Not that this moves at like a super breakneck pace, but they pace it out enough to where just when you're about to get maybe a little bored, they throw in like either a funny joke or a cute character interaction or another part where the story keeps moving forward. And I love so many of these little interactions between our main character, which this is more of a self-discovery and like building up your confidence story. It's not really a typical romance story. Even though I could absolutely ship the indie rocker with...
Oh no, I could ship them
Same.
too, but I kind of feel like it's more about the characters. It avoids like the pitfalls of like queer storytelling. Like, I'm not saying like, yes, the gay, this discovering your sexuality story, very important, but it kind of feels like a lot of the time in the more indie to mainstream space, that's like the only story being told, and it's like, give me something new. I mean, yeah, it is about romance, but also it's about loving yourself. And I feel like that's such an important part of the queer experience too, that it's not just about, finding the love of your life or being accepted.
Her ex-girlfriend sucks.
No, she is a bitch.
She is one of the worst romantic partners ever because she doesn't care about our main character. She was only with her thinking it was going to be a lot more fun to be with a princess when our princess is a hugely insecure and in need of confidence individual. And the more of the story is about her being like, you know what, you suck. I am super cool and I'm fine with being who I am. And that's great because, yeah, I will say, I think that's what kind of killed. Oh, what was that movie that was like meant to be a really big deal and then had like maybe way too hyper aggressive marketing or like PR from the main guy who also wrote it and such? Was it called Bros? I think that's what it was.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, Bros with Billy Eichner and such. Like, it was a sweet movie, but it did seem like a lot of the marketing turned into, if you don't support this, you're homophobic. And whether that was joking or not, it was like, okay, then, well, what kind of story is this?
It's
And
either that or it's like the fetishization, which is probably why I laughed my ass off at the blue is the warmest color joke. Because I'm like, okay, like a bunch of gays wrote this. Because I'm like, if you know,
You know.
you know.
that was a great moment where anytime our main character was bonding with the indie rocker, the ship called the problematic ship would chime in with some chauvinistic or just kind of off-color comment of like, what did you two think of the sex scene in The Blue is the Warmest Color?
The problematic ship is voiced by Richard Roxburgh, and he is hysterical.
The voice cast for this is so funny. They have the right vibe. I love Blade, who is apparently played by a drag queen who was on RuPaul's Drag Race. And I love to like, oh yeah, they were fine with the drag. They were okay with that, but the weapons, that's where they had a problem with me about it. Just collecting all the weapons and so many witty little lines. And I'm sure there was some improv, but I got a huge kick out of assuming that a lot of this was how it was written and such. It has kind of a vibe of like Smiling Friends, where it has a very casual vibe in its dialogue, but it's not like super improv or anything like that.
Again, it is like super queer, but it is like accessible that, you know, if you're straight, you'll get something out of it too. But if you're part of the LGBTQIA plus community, you will find a lot of stuff that it's like just lemma, what the fuck.
I mean, I feel like it's funny even if you don't pick up on all the cues and such. Like, it was amusing of how the straight white Malians, they weren't actually very good at their job, and I love the wordplay of like trying to pick up chicks because we failed with our chick magnet, and it's a giant magnet with chickens on it.
Oh, and that's not even the best joke. We have to talk about the best joke.
Oh, we'll get to there, but there's another one where halfway through, the straight white malians get into like an argument about some generic card game, and as a former Magic the Gathering player, that one killed me.
That was great because as much as my friend is a Magic the Gathering player, that's why I never got into it because it was just so complicated at times about how the rules worked. And hearing them be like, no, you tap it once to get this ability, and then you tap it again to get the second ability to unlock. And it's just like, oh, so, but why do you have to tap it 2 times? Why not just tap it once and get both powers? That's not how it works. And it's just like, oh my god, play the damn game. That's why I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Before Yu-Gi-Oh! Overcomplicated itself. Because, I'm sorry, that's what half of the Magic the Gathering dialogue sounds like to me. That was probably one of my favorite jokes, but I just love that there's that fork in the road, and they're like, huh, so which way do we go? Do we go this way or the other way? And it's like the safe, fun way and then the dangerous way. And the ship just goes to the left. I have a good feeling about this one. And it's the dangerous one, or is really interesting to play off of ChaO because ChaO has such an energetic identity to its, not only its like visual language and look, but to its comedy also. Like, not that like Chainsaw Man doesn't have its comedy, but I mean, that's the thing. All 3 movies have varying levels of comedy and they're all hit differently. Like, a lot of the humor in Chainsaw Man is about Denji's lack of hormonal control when he's with Reze in the movie, where he's just like, I am super loyal to Makima, but my body is telling me other things. It's like, I will not fall for this. I will not fall for this. Like, I don't care that she's getting naked in front of me. I will not submit. And then it cuts to him being naked, and he's like, damn it. Or stuff like that, or it's like Power being her usual chaotic self, especially at the end credits when she pops up again. And when you think it's about to be like this actually genuinely sweet moment between Power and Denki, you know what? I'd just rather eat the goddamn flowers than give them to Power to boost her ego and such. It was very sweet. And then with Chao, which is a story about a man working for a ship company and falls in love with ends up falling for this mermaid that latches onto him because of things you find out later that we'll talk about. But the the comedy goes from like dialogue jokes to visual gags to character dynamic gags to like it's like a Mel Brooks style comedy where it just throws everything at you. Especially like with stuff like the ice cream man at the park scene where he's trying to tell our main character Steven, it's like, dude, take the hint. Here are 2 ice creams for you and your girl. Like, make it romantic. Be romantic here. And then when Steven's, of course, flubbing the whole thing, you see it in the foreground, the ice cream seller being like, oh my god, dude, take the hint. Like, that's the thing about these 3 movies. They're so amusing in their own separate ways.
Speaking of visual gags, I love how in Chao, nothing is explained. You just kind of go with it. Like this one like section where every time you see this one street corner, there's like a giant baby in a diaper just walking, and the movie never addresses him. He's just there.
The art director who was like in charge of the character design and such at Animation is Film has said the director was just like, just let it be. Don't think about it. It has a lot of that kind of humor. It's like, why is there a tiny boss who has to hold up a giant screen in front of him so you can see his face? But when he takes the screen away, he's got like one of those indie RPG sprite faces. Or like, why is the head of the company this big round guy who looks like he ate one of those
I know.
what was that experimental candy in Willy Wonka that the kid eats and turns into a giant blueberry?
The gobstopper.
Yeah, that. It's like he looks like that. And I said this, I think, in the last podcast. The character designer was inspired by Dr. Slump from Akira Toriyama. And just in the sense of sometimes people just have big heads. Who cares? Like there's that one sequence where at the carnival date, the head of the company is with of course, the paparazzi, and they're all just like leaning to the left and such. And the head of the company is like, or Mr. C is like, you got this. And he's like trying not to fall over while leaning over because there's nothing supporting his balance. Like, oh my god, it's like, wow, this is what happens when creatives who have a sense of humor take control of the project. I adore it.
Yeah, no, Chow was like a lot of fun, and the fact that we watched it immediately after Lesbian Space Princess, and honestly, we couldn't have bookended them perfectly enough.
Even though like these movies have like their main focus, like Chow is more focused on the comedy, Lesbian Space Princess is more focused on it comedy, but more just the indie vibe of it all. And Chainsaw Man has its really dynamite action. There's still a human core and soul to each of the movies. Like we said with Lesbian Space Princess, even though I would have preferred or loved for the indie rocker and our lead to end up together, it's not that kind of story.
I respect that this movie didn't just have a traditional happy ending, but
no, it didn't take the easy way, which made me appreciate it. Like, it knew what it wanted to be, and it committed to its story. It didn't just be like, well, oh, she can have like the good one now, but like the whole thing is she wouldn't have been a good partner unless she like figured her shit out, and that was kind of the point.
Yep.
Exactly. That was like, it's a story about self-growth, and that's what the main focus was. And it's funny that we were watching this right when, oh, what was it, Variety or something, saying like did a whole survey of, we want more animation, but we don't want more sex, because that's a whole thing we can talk about on a whole other podcast about the like purity ring nonsense.
Yeah, all those damn Puritans.
Yeah, the Puritans, but that's an argument that we'll probably get to on another episode, and I know which one it's going to be.
More on that later.
More on
But
that later.
as far as romances go, I think out of the three of these movies, the most traditional is probably Steven and Chao, because they get their happy ending once Steven becomes less of a shithead.
Yeah, when he decides to stop, being a little wimp boy and decides to put on his big boy pants.
It's also a story about self-growth, which is amusing about how these two movies, like we watched both movies back to back, because yeah, for a good amount of the runtime, Steven doesn't quite get or understand the marriage situation. And he doesn't remember why Chao loves him so much, because it seems so out of the blue when it really isn't. And it does that thing where they give you the flashback where it's like, oh, they've known each other since they were kids.
Yeah, even before the flashback, it doesn't really try to hide it. If you think about it for 5 seconds, it's fairly obvious early on, where they're going with this.
Yep.
And that's fine. It's like, I'm not against familiar tropes. It's more...
It's all in the execution.
If you're not doing something interesting or compelling with them, then that's the problem. I think, yeah, it would have been cute to see our lead end up with the rocker, but the rocker wasn't great in her own ways. So it's like, let's do what we need to grow a little. And then they do leave the door open a little.
A little.
Yeah, which is good. But ironically, kind of getting back to what you were saying about, the survey, there really isn't, a lot of sex in there. There's some, implied sex. So, ironically, this is, the specific thing that people are talking about.
There's some nudity, but it's not, titillating nudity. It's like how in Chainsaw Man, yes, Reze is seen nude, but it's not in a way that's titillating to the... I mean, it is. I mean, there's that whole sequence where Denji is going through all the women that he knows in his life, and they do, the lingerie poses and such, and it's titillating, but it's also, funny, and it's only arousing through the eyes of our main character.
That's an important distinction, that because we're looking at that moment through Denji's eyes, it's like, okay, that explains everything. It's not fan service for the sake of fan service.
In Chainsaw Man, Reze Arc, I continue to stand by the fact that Chainsaw Man is more of a tragic story than one that is just a supernatural, ultra gory, hyper action violence fest. And I feel like that's what, unfortunately, a lot of anime reviewers do sometimes. It's they focus mostly on, look how amazing the animation is, and then how funny, horny Denji is. But they don't talk or really want to focus on the fact that Makima is really gaslighting and emotionally manipulating our main character because he has a powerful demon heart with the chainsaw devil inside him. She's not doing it because she finds him attractive. Even the show and the movie itself is frames our lead as a weird, horny horn dog.
Everyone in universe is objectifying Denji's chainsaw heart.
And there's even literally a line in a movie where he's just everyone wants my chainsaw heart, but what about my heart? Denji's heart? Does anybody want that? And it's partially meant to be read as funny, but it's also tragic, because really it's a story about a young man who just wants connection, because he was never given that in his life, because he was abandoned by a deadbeat dad who had Yakuza loans shoved onto Denji, and Denji had to continuously work to pay off those debts. And here he is. Yes, he has friends, but they're not really close by the end of the first season.
Yeah, I mean, they're more co-workers that you sometimes get a beer with.
Even the main female character, Power, is meant to be the opposite end of the chaotic gremlin character trope, where She is quirky. She is funny. Her eccentricities are delightful, but she is not a great person.
She almost reminds me of Asuka from Evangelion, but even more chaotic.
She's full of herself, and she takes pride in her power. Power's power.
Yeah, because she's the blood fiend, so.
Yeah. But she's not instantly labeled the love interest for any of our two male leads. And with Reze, it is more of what Makima is doing, where she was emotionally manipulating Genji's infantile.
His emotional stunted growth.
Even though it's like, there is the tragedy of like, yeah, you were manipulating me, you were faking everything, but there was kind of a thing there. Like, a genuine innocence in their romance before, of course, you find out that she's the bomb devil. She is there for the chainsaw heart and not really anything else. Like, she is ruthless. She is a great, like, unapologetic villain of the Reze arc. Because she will just do everything. She will murder hundreds of people just to get her way.
Called her in my letterbox review a literal bombshell, because that's what she is.
She is metaphorically and literally a bombshell. And the way that they animate her using her explosive abilities to maneuver, to fight, so cool. Like, this is one of the most visually stunning movies of the year. And not a big shock because it's Studio Mappa, and they, through hell or high water, no matter how many animators they burn through, will put out some high quality dynamic animation. But I also like that Reze Arc is paced like a movie. There are no possible ways to chop this up unless you are willing to animate new sequences to turn Reze Arc into a TV season for some reason or another.
They could, because I think the first Demon Slayer movie ended up doing that.
They did.
But even then, Mugen Train still worked as a movie, so you can enjoy it either way. But the fact that Reze Arc treats itself like a movie is what works, because I will say, if you did try to slice this up into episodes, it would not play well with having to format an episode and such. And the only reason that the Jujutsu Kaisen hidden inventory arc was turned into a movie was because it was already 5 or so episodes that could be turned into a movie, because then you're just doing like 2 hours of content for that's already been animated and such.
Also, there's another Jujutsu Kaisen movie coming out in November.
Yeah, which is going to have the last 2 or 3 episodes of the most recent season, and then like a showing of episode 1 of season 3. So,
Yep.
But for now, until otherwise, I'm glad that Reze Arc works as a movie. I don't think they're going to turn into episodes. I feel like Mappa is not like Ufotable, where Ufotable just wants to bleed the stone dry with Demon Slayer because they don't have much else on the horizon afterwards. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see about that. But back to some of the 2 other movies. What I like about ChaO is the fact that even though a lot of the side characters don't have much memorable about them, it is a pleasant movie to be around, even though Mr. C, the boss that he works for, comes off like the pretty typical corporate boss. I mean, the whole thing of him looking like a giant blueberry is like a sign of ego. To me, at least. I love that little sequence where he's like, see that ship over there? And he puts up a portrait around it. That's my ship. And then later on, he's just like, huh, so Steven, do you like being on ships? Yeah. And it just cuts to Steven being a janitor on the ship.
That cut was just perfect.
There are so many good jokes like that in ChaO. Like, so many visual gags. The reoccurring gag of Steven hitting his head. The reoccurring gag of Steven giving the pedicab driver a drink every time he leaves. And the dynamic between Robert and his assistant, who later on becomes his romantic love interest, is great. That whole sequence where they are giving each other tea is set up right out of a Hong Kong action movie with how dynamic the action is. And this is what I like about Studio 4C and their visuals. They are never really willing to go the traditional routes. They will go as absurd and blocky as possible. There's no, like, when you think of like traditional anime, it has like, the curved pointed chin and whatever like traditional body types that they all have. Studio 4C's like, nah, we're not doing that. Maybe with the exception being Children of the Sea and what was that other one?
Fortune Favors Lady Nikiko.
Yeah, that one. But otherwise, they like to use the Tenkonken Creed art style where there's just kind of loppy proportions and such.
I love that because it really does set the world apart. Even if the characters themselves don't get a lot of dialogue, you can at least pick them out from a crowd.
And that's just the appeal of art direction when you are able to do something like that. I wish more studios were willing to experiment with their visual style. I feel like the only ones that are able to do this are Studio 4C and Science Saru, because Cloverworks has a visual language look. Studio Trigger does. KyoAni has a certain visual look that they use. I like it when studios can try a little something different, which is what seems like the frustration point of Studio 4C movies are people will see them or know about them, but they don't go out and see them because they look a little too weird. And it's like, God dang it, people.
I'm with you on that, where people who want to see more unique visual spectacles, like for lack of a better term, should definitely seek out what Studio C is doing because their own way.
And that's what I like about all three of these movies. They just have a different vibe to them. And even though, like, Lesbian Space Princess has, like, the most, I guess you could argue, basic look, it is still so fun and vibrant with its color palettes, and it does that thing where it doesn't have, like, black outlines for the characters.
It works really well because I don't think we really brought this up with Lesbian Space Princess yet, but like it's surprisingly dark. Like some of like the storytelling, like it goes in directions that you are not expecting. Like her and like the I guess it wasn't quite the astral plane, but I guess her mental plane or whatever, and like the black like mana energy saying that basically you suck, you're a failure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, her self-doubt is, if you had to say what's the driving force or like the antagonistic force that's going to challenge our characters, Lesbian Space Princess doesn't really have that. I mean, yeah, the straight white malians can be threatening, but there are moments where they're like, kill the lesbian, and then they accidentally throw in a Shakespearean thespian.
Which is the best joke, and it's kill the thespian.
Kill the thespian.
The joke was all thespians are lesbians when they're on the L word.
Like, they're very incompetent. They match more of our main character in terms of just the insecurity of not being able to pick up chicks when it's just like, I love this. They basically, I'm going to assume they were inspired by the Pro ZD sketch about how most harem or love triangle romance anime can be solved. Where they're just like, okay, how about you just all just fuck, just one big fuck pile and such, and then it's just like, oh, okay, and that's how anime was saved, and that's really what happens with the straight white malian, where they're just like, why don't you just date each other?
And it's like, Huh.
And just love yourselves, metaphorically and literally, I guess, in this case. Oh god, they were funny though, just as villains, just because like they had a like yes, very Adult Swim coded Aqua Teen Hunger Force style mannerisms to them. I would say they also had a little bit of the villains from Emperor's New Groove, Kronk and
That's what I was gonna say. Like the way that they talked, a very like Patrick Warburton, like Eartha Kitt, like style dialogue of just like the most like benign bullshit, and then like, oh yeah, right.
So the fact that they're voiced by like a pretty popular Australian comedy group, it makes a lot of sense why their chemistry was so good, but also just like the very specific way that their dialogue is written.
I love that, like, when our main character kicks down the door, literally and figuratively, she looks around and the three guys are, like, busy playing their card game, and they're like, no, that's not how that works! And she just walks on by and saves her ex, even though the ex is like, well, thank you, but now I'm gonna go. Bye. When the special weapon that our lead has, where it comes
Which I
from,
should give some context. So, like, and this
yes,
adds to it. So, the axe is actually like a lesbian power symbol.
yeah,
Like one of the flags in like the 1970s. Like, it is like so on the nose. It's like anyone who's like taking this movie like seriously, like at that level, it's like it is so painfully like self. It is practically baiting like the worst people to get mad.
I love the fact that the main character's parents are like, through this sacred document about your weapon, and it's a Wikipedia article.
Oh yeah, got me tied at that because I think that's the moment we all went. We were like, okay, this movie's going to be really good.
Yep.
Oh, exactly. And oh god, again, the problematic ship being like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? You're not a man. I've only had male pilots. He is like an obnoxious little shithead. And then he's just like, well, okay, fine. Where would you like me to drop you off? Do you want me to drop you off like the salon or the nail place, or where do girls like to hang? And then later on, when she's just like, can you do this for me? And he's just like, none of my previous pilots ever asked me what I thought. Which is really like the key to the key to everything is genuine care and kindness in the world.
Exactly.
The ship is best boy. Like he's like steadfast, like an ally by the end.
Drive straight, drive straight, drive straight. And it's like, typical. I identify as bisexual. And he's just like, do those really exist? Which is like,
What?
oh,
It's for me. For those who don't know, I am openly bisexual, like obnoxiously so. Like I am every stereotype in the book. Like even right now, you can't see me, but I can't sit right. Like I'm bad. But it's like you could tell that these jokes were written by queer people because it's like every like stereotype. They're like stare at the screen, you get closer, and just look right at you, like.
I am always down for more queer media and such, but it, like we said earlier, it does seem like there's a one-track mind of how to do it, or you can't have problematic queer characters, or
Right,
you
and
can't have like it has to have like a romance and such. Like I said, I think that's why Bros failed, because it was like a really important queer comedy, but it was also like
It still leaned into like the typical romantic comedy tropes.
Yeah, the very like safe thing. Like we're not actually, we're just exploring queerness as like a surface level thing. Like I think I'm not saying that you can't have queer romance. I mean, I write stuff with like queer romance is, but like the whole point, and at least what I feel like the goal should be is like queer people are just like normal people. We just want stories about us. Like we just happen to be queer.
I'm sorry, everyone can be a hot disaster train. I'm just saying, like, whatever spectrum you identify on, there are probably the good eggs, the bad eggs, and then the ones who are just a hot mess.
As long as the stories are like authentic to like the people who are making them, those ones are going to connect with audiences more.
Yeah, I think that's the tag word that you said, Mike, is like authentic. And that's why I feel like this movie really worked for me is it feels authentic. Like it is telling like a genuine, like heartfelt story that also happens to be hilarious. And I feel like that is worth more than like everything that's quote unquote queer representation.
And for a directorial debut, this movie is incredibly well like realized.
And for some reason, I don't know if it was last year or the year or 2 years ago, Tubi tried to air some quote unquote original movies, which were like 60 minutes long. And they were all made by like Adult Swim veterans or people who were like executive producers on Adult Swim projects. And you could tell that they only had enough for like one episode pilot plot line and such. Those things dragged. And even though we say this one has an Adult Swim vibe to it, it still has a story and characters. It keeps moving forward because, like, as much as I love the Adult Swim style show system from time to time, there are moments where it's like, wow, they're just waiting for a joke to work out or something like that. Which is like kind of the same thing that happens with Smiling Friends, and I love Smiling Friends, but you kind of know what they're going to do.
I feel like a lot of them, if you've ever watched Space Ghost Coast to Coast by Love and Joy, any of you saw the episode like Fire Ant, and I'm talking about the original uncut version, not the bullshit shortened version that's on streaming services. God damn it. But, like, to me, that is actually one of the greatest episodes of television because it's like Space Ghost and like Conan O'Brien like building up to like this one stupid joke for like 11 minutes. Like literally it's just Space Ghost walking chasing this ant for like 11 minutes. It is the goddamn stupidest thing on earth, but it works is because there was a bunch of things happening beforehand and they organically build to that moment and you're just like waiting for the anticipation of it and then it just hits you like a ton of bricks. But the problem that I feel like a lot of them do is that they kind of, allude to it and then like nothing like happens and it's just kind of like meandering where in that specific Space Ghost joke is the meandering is the joke.
That's why it works.
Like, that's why I do not like the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movies, where they're just like dragging on and on and on about some kind of plot and it just doesn't work, even though that might be part of the point. But it's not amusing because if the whole point is to waste your time, find another point. Or at least find a way for that to work and be funny. Because like by the end of the first Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, it was like, wow, you guys really wasted our time about the origin story of Master Shake, Meatwad, and Frylock, but
Which, honestly, that movie's more noticeable because it literally changed the entire direction of Cartoon Network after the bomb scares.
oh yeah, exactly.
Oh, right.
It's just like, yes, Frylock, me, a giant burrito, is your mom. It's like, okay. And then it's like, wasn't that a great waste of time? And it's like, no, it wasn't. But to wrap around back to like the flawed characters and such, we talked about this literally with K-pop Demon Hunters and then Rock is a Lady's Modesty, where the reason why these characters are fun is because they're flawed and kind of a emotional wreck. Like, that's the whole appeal of Chainsaw Man, outside of its more, I guess, US cinematicness of it all. Like, the characters are really flawed and messed up people, but they're great like that. And I even love, like, the dad from Chow, who is really strict on Steven, but is even like trying to hold back his anger when Chow unleashes all those fireworks inside the apartment, blowing it up. And he's just like about to go back in the ocean. He's like, my daughter is great. She is a very lovely person. That was a great gift. Even though he's coming off like don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be mad at your own daughter who's happy about the situation.
The dad was great.
Be like an orca. And we didn't even talk about like the mermaids. Not all of them are fish. Like they're just like animal, like sea creature, human hybrids.
Oh yeah, and I love the turtle gag where the guy like does this elegant jump out of the water, and then it's just slowly making his way through the streets while the whole wedding is happening, and then the scene ends with the turtle still crossing the dang streets. And this movie, like Chow, has like a very controlled chaos with its energy, because like the whole thing with like the robot, like Robert and his love interest is like, at first a lot of the cast do not have layers to them, but I do think it's a very cute romance story where Robert is like the smartest man in the world, but he cannot for the life of himself confess to the love of his life because he doesn't have the machismo, the charisma, the power to do so until the very end, which just results in a lot of amazing jokes. Like, I don't know if y'all caught this gag at first, but his hot rod car does not actually have an exposed engine on the top. That was the cat on the front of the car.
Yeah, I
Oh.
saw that.
The
That was
whole
good.
And then that whole sequence when Steven needs to get back to this town, and he tells the cab driver, it's like, quickly, I need to get back into town now. Alrighty. And the cab just drives off without him. And he's like, what the fuck? And the cab driver's like, sorry, my bad. And I love that sequence when Steven is going to his parents' fishing boats. And he's just like, Robert. Or it's like, it's his name's like a pun. It's like Robot and Roberts combined into one. And he's like, Robert, that thin arm of yours has quite a punch to it. And Robert's is like, haha, yes. And right as Steven leaves,
Oh,
you
he
see him,
takes the arm off.
he takes the arm off. It's not even like a fake arm. It's just like a power glove.
Literally, like the anchor arms from SpongeBob. That's literally it.
Oh my god, you're right.
I also love how the jokes connect in Chow, where like near the end when Steven is getting chased by the paparazzi, the giant baby comes back with the Sun Wukong's power pole, and
yeah,
just
like that baby is amazing. Like that baby is the MP3. And MP3 MVP. Oh my god.
Oh my god. But no, he is the MVP of the movie, where he causes the paparazzi guy to fling into the air. And then during the big, like, epic battle romance confession, you see the power pole fly right by Steven, and the paparazzi who was hit by it is still stuck on it.
I love that.
Like, everyone.
It's so dumb, but so good.
It's like, everyone at my theater when I saw this at Animation as Film were laughing their heads off. They were laughing at every joke, even like the ones that you knew where the punchline was coming, where Steven is trying to break things up in the first part, and Chow was just like, "Why don't you love me?" And it turns out to be like this big setup by Mr. C with the big mast coming down and saying, "I love you." Even making like a whole heart-shaped crater in the ground. And she's like, oh my god, Steven, you're setting me up for a surprise for a reason. You're so amazing. And Steven's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm a natural Casanova. Sure, let's go with that one.
And I love that like the ice cream cart is holding up Steven, and then when the ice cream cart moves, he's still in that position, and then he hits the ground. And I have to say, I love the fact that even though Chow has like this amazing, beautiful human design, Chow stays like a koi fish throughout a majority of the movie's runtime. And all that she has for clothes are like these fun, big, yellow hiking boots. And it is such a cute design. I want like a figurine of that. Not of her mermaid form, but of her fish form. That's the kind of weird thing I love. I mean, again, it's all in with these like designs and such that make Chao so charming to look at. And even during the credits, they show you the animation production behind it, like showing you like like rough animation and such.
That was a nice. I like seeing like the work in progress of certain scenes.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love when credits do that because I remember K-pop Demon Hunters did a similar thing, but they showed like twice, recording their version of Takedown.
Yeah, no, it's like I would have maybe preferred to see the animation part of the progress instead of just seeing like, oh yeah, we got twice to do Takedown, which it's so funny now, like how out of all the songs to make it big from K-pop Demon Hunters, it is not the one that they were really trying to make the main hit song. It was instead Golden.
Yeah, which is just kind of the perfect choice
Yeah,
for
it really is.
once you start hearing that song in like a Walmart on the music, that's when you know it's breach contained.
Yeah, but I think the reason they showed twice thing is they were like honoring like the K-pop sources. Why that's at least to me, that's what it felt like.
At the time, that made sense.
I just feel like it like I said, it was just kind of amusing where they're like, okay, this is going to be the big song because we have the movie version of it, but we also have the twice
Oh yeah,
version.
no, especially because they've leaned on it super heavy in the marketing material, like the little marketing that they had.
The one trailer that they put out really featured that song, at least towards the end.
Right. But back to like, let's talk a little bit about Chainsaw Man before we wrap up. I really like how the story is continuing. Like, well, first of all, I love Violence Devil and Shark Devil.
Beam is a riot in this movie.
Beam is a delight. He is the biggest Chainsaw Man fanboy, and it continues the slightly homoerotic and just sexually kinky layer of Chainsaw Man when Chainsaw Man like does the whole writing thing with Beam, and Beam's just like, I don't know, man. I don't think this is not what I meant when I said you can use your chains on me. And he's just like, no, man, this is what we're gonna do. And then he's just like, yes, daddy. And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing, especially with the fact that Reze, during the second half of the movie, is flying around in her Bomb Devil form with like a bra and panties on top of the Bomb Devil garment that she has on. It's like, it's horny, but it's also like not the like super like we want guys to really buy the merchandise of this kind of like waifu material. It's like the waifu stuff is there, but it's not so.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like, at least for me, from that I got it from, it's kind of like, when you get later in the Kill la Kill, like, none of that shit matters. They're like, oh, wait, she's naked. Okay. Oh, wait, shit, the plot's over there. Like, it's like such a nothing.
That's actually a good comparison.
The thing is, it's like, yes, she is wearing just a bra and panties underneath the bomb garment or apron thing that she's wearing with like the bomb gloves and the bomb head. But it's not shot in a way that's meant to be sexual in nature. It's just like an action scene. And
Yeah, I mean, she's femme fatale. Like, that is like classic femme fatale tropes.
Yep.
And again, like I said, it follows more of the tragedy of everything because it just seems like these are all such broken people and they just want to find some kind of human, heartfelt connection with one another, but they really can't, especially with like Mr. Buzzkill, the angel devil, being all like, you know what? At least when I die, I can chill. That's okay, buddy, let's get you another ice cream cone. So
Angel Devil, I feel so bad for them because they seem to have a rough outlook on life, but
well,
at least
with
they
their
get a
powers, it makes sense because it's like, yeah, I can give or take life energy away.
And especially like what you learn about their backstory later on is like so fucked up.
Oh boy. So, and also shout out to the voice actor who is also the recent voice for Shinji from Evangelion, and also hold on,
Oh,
Delicious.
Delicious Dungeon Meshi. Yeah, they play Chicklock, and they were in JoJo's Part 6 with I'm not sure if Kira Buckland's their partner or roommate, but they live together. Like their shenanigans are always a delight to see online.
Yeah, Casey Mongillo, who plays the Angel Devil, and it is like amusing how, like, even though Denji is the main focus of the overall story, you do get a little more backstory or just like continued progression of the other characters, like the guy with the katana with the future devil powers.
Oh.
Yeah, Aki Hayakawa, who it's just, if you want to see a new iteration of burned out adults or young adults, Aki is that burned out. It's like, oh, that's me on any other given day sometimes.
You know what might make him feel better? A nice snowball fight, or maybe a snow cone.
Especially because he's like, I only have 5 more years to live because of my deal made with the other devils. And he's so tired, man. He's so tired of people dying in front of him. He's just so done with it. And it's like, it's funny, but it's also sad because it is like, I'm sure in this line of work, you are just constantly in the realm of just dealing with the most horrific nonsense.
So I have a question. Would you recommend this movie for people who haven't been keeping up with the anime, or is this one of those strictly for the fans?
I don't think this is one of those super strict for the fans, but I also wouldn't say jump in blind. Even though it's a lot more helpful in some ways to watch it, like, you can watch it on its own, but it does make reference to previous encounters, and it doesn't really do much because Power is taken out for basically the whole movie. So you don't know who she is or why she needs her blood drained. I mean, they say it's like to keep her ego down, but that's really it. And then she's taken out of the movie for an extremely long time. Like how in Demon Slayer, they take out Inosuke and Zenitsu for the Swordman Village arc to introduce the 2 other Hashira. Because otherwise, it's like, why would you care about Zenitsu and Inosuke coming back unless you've watched the previous seasons? And such, and knowing how weird it is to not have them in there for a whole arc. Because otherwise it's like, yeah, there's reference towards Himeno and, oh, what's his name? The Katana Devil.
Katana Man?
Yeah, Katana Man. Or like the Future Devil is brought up, and it's like, what the hell's the Future Devil and their powers and such? So no, I mean, it's kind of in the middle, I guess, if I had to say. Like,
Yeah, because like the story itself is not difficult to follow. But you have like the emotional baggage of that first season to, really kind of get you acclimated to who these characters are, the world they live in, all that stuff. But
I would say the hurdle's probably not as, bad versus like some other Shonen Jump properties where in order to remotely like understand like what the hell's happening, you gotta read like 100 chapters of manga and like 50 episodes of like this TV show. When here it's like, no, like the first season's only like, what is it, like 13 episodes? You can
12
get
episodes.
through 12 episodes. You can get through this in like a day and a half.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, like, you wouldn't. I don't think you would understand the gag of Kobeni Higashiyama, who is just the most emotionally broken devil hunter among the group who just cannot do anything for herself. Which then it's just kind of like, wow, what's the point of that character? Which is just. I mean, I'm still fairly annoyed by her because it just seems like her one gag is to be yelling and to be like on constant PTSD mode. But I understand like the goal of her character is that
Same.
she's meant to be like the way over their head individual, but you wouldn't get that that's who she. I mean, I guess it's like seeing her in the show makes the gag funnier when Galgali, the violence fiend or the violence devil, pops in and he's just like, haha, oh, wait a minute, that was my strongest move. Shit. Okay, Kobeni, we're gonna just bail. Just bail out of the scene. Okay, excuse me, pardon me, coming through. Okay, sorry for trying to stop you. Closes the door and then comes back later. And then Kobeni is just left there being like, oh, for the love of God, please do not kill me.
And you know what? Like, she'll always have the meme of, in the dub, Bryn April screams, like, I know what you are! Which,
Oh,
I guess they see, like, the gay dog memes, like the homophobic dog.
Like I said, I think Beam helps out a lot in this. The Shark Devil character who he just loves life and he's so happy to be working with our main character, Denji. Just like his joy of the rain is so funny and such. Even though I feel like some of his antics cause the film to come to a grinding halt a little.
he goes right to the edge of the line before coming back to enjoyable.
Exactly. But luckily, he is also extremely useful. He is not just. Like, he's a comedy relief, but he's also extremely useful in a fight. He's basically Denji's bodyguard throughout a majority of the movie and such, while the other characters are basically, like, not there on the scene. Because, like, you see Kishibe, who is, like, the mentor character, doesn't really do much outside of this one exposition scene at the end. And Makima doesn't really do anything until the very end either, except kind of be the instigation point of Denji realizing that he just wants connection, love, and not just like sexual love or anything like that. He just wants to be loved.
Yeah.
And it's a tragic story, so I don't like it when people just say Chainsaw Man is just a new hyper-violent anime. It is a hyper-violent anime. Like, it's funny, it's by the same author who did Look Back, and with so many people loving the philosophy and, like, writing of that, but then with Chainsaw Man, they're just like, her, Chainsaw go burr. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's a weird dichotomy of they fully understand Look Back, but then they're not willing to go into the depth of Chainsaw Man because of the flashy animation. But I don't know, that's just me.
I mean, I get it. Like, there are a lot of like hype moments in both the series and the movie, but there is just more underneath the surface.
That's the thing with all these movies. Like, even Chow, even though it's like a more straightforward romantic comedy, has its environmental messaging and commentary about how humans interact and cooperate with the ocean and how, yeah, we have machines that traverse the oceans for our needs that are literally hurting other characters. Like the really dark backstory of what happened to Steven's
Oh my god,
parents.
like, I was like, oh, they're not gonna do that. And then I was like, what the fuck?
Like, they die because of the screw propeller. And it's so messed up. That's why you wonder why he is as he is. Even if it maybe takes a little too long from being a curmudgeon to fully become like the good person that he is. But that's his whole arc, is to embrace love and dealing with like making a relationship work when the two of you are from two different worlds, metaphorically and literally.
As a person, I may be frustrated with how Steven is, but as a character, the arc is handled really well.
Yeah.
And it's just sweet at the end. And I do love, because it just seems like sometimes some movies, when they have like a weird romance or something, are like, no, they're not going to have sex. And it's like,
But
dude,
they do.
but they do. Like, I remember this one, it was like a Netflix movie that kind of went through, it was a purchase where it was written and created by a bunch of like Simpsons writers. And it has to do with like these animals who were like donut shaped. And one of them fell in love with a more normal animal looking thing. And they tease that we're about to see their adorable, maybe freakishly freaky looking baby. And then it cuts to credits. It's just like, oh, come on. Let us see the
Yeah,
weirdo.
that's like, oh shit, we ran out of money. We didn't have enough to design this.
So let's just let the imagination go wild.
Exactly.
But here it's just like, no, no, the guy got freaky with a fish lady, and they have mermaid children. Chainsaw Man Reze Arc would be a 10 out of 10 movie if they just brought back the future devil, that dashing, dancing, lovable little goofball.
Like him and Aki, like honestly, could be OTP.
Well, I think that's kind of what this show leans on a little. You can say they don't, but I think they do.
Well, which kind of compounds it is because I'm pretty sure his dub actor is an openly gay man, which makes it funnier.
Oh Lord, it's just overall these three movies are so like they're similar in some regards, but they're also like so unique among animated films that we rarely get to talk about with US animation, because US animation tends to be very straightforward. Not
Straightforward, not really adventurous.
yeah,
Milquist toast, if you will.
Yeah.
so to see like a weird, vibrant rom com, a sci-fi queer comedy adventure romance. Well, not even a romance, just like a queer sci-fi adventure movie. And then the best franchise film from anime this year with Reze Arc. Like, I'm sorry to the fans who like Infinity Castle Part 1, but I think even the fans can admit that Reze Arc is a better movie because it's structured as a movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's an actual movie, not like, oh, coming in, Q4 2026.
Oh god. But anyway, so this was fun to watch all three of these movies and such. And I wish we could talk more about this. But next time we're going to be talking a little bit about Has Been Hotel Season 2. But we are finally doing our much highly anticipated, let's finally address the animation fandom problem.
We've been building this one up pretty much ever since. Well, we've been building this one up for months, but I am excited to get into this. But until next time, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
Well, if you want to anticipate my words of saying mean, but when you think about it, truly, deep and true things, you can follow me at crazylemur.bsky.social. I'm also on Instagram at lemurs1 if you want to see some of my more like personal life things and, other shenanigans.
And Cameron?
You can find me on Blue Sky at campsideview.biz. I do have a X account, but try not to use that as much. I have a website called campsideview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am also a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for written, entertaining, and thought-provoking looks into pop culture and media criticism. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsideview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.